to the NJCAAE webinar, Army National Guard webinar, excuse me. Today we are going to be talking to some amazing people, and we're so happy that you're here. But first, let's take a look at a video from the Army National Guard.
It's hard to believe, but 2020 is nearly in the rearview mirror. It's been an incredible stretch for us, and I know we've asked a lot of our force this year.
While circumstances will continue to evolve, here are the facts as they stand. All 54 states, territories, and the District of Columbia have declared a state of emergency.
National Guard in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The hurricane that came through last night.
Flood events that came in.
The disaster response during floods, hurricanes, and wildfires.
When disaster strikes, we don't have to mobilize from some base. We pack a lunch, we go to work because we are already there in the communities. We live there. We can respond faster.
And they've been an unbelievable asset, all these other hands processing ballots.
We're so blessed to have this many soldiers come out and help us feed needy families during this difficult time.
Saying thank you to the National Guard to honor all the hardworking men and women day in and day out.
So it's invaluable what your soldiers are doing with the food services and with medical and things of that nature. They're literally saving people's lives every day.
You can see on people's faces the relief that comes when they know they have food to eat for the rest of the day, maybe the rest of the week.
So we're trying to make sure they feel safe coming out here and expressing their opinions and affecting the kind of change they want to see.
Fire knows no boundaries, and so, you know, we train together, we fight fire together.
It's nice to be here and be doing my job.
Just knowing that you're helping out, just knowing you're giving back to the community is pretty good.
Being a part of this mission is honestly very fulfilling. It's what I signed up for. It's what most of the soldiers with me signed up for.
To help out in any way possible and giving 110% to any community that we serve.
And remember this, always ready, always there.
Wow, that was a great video from the Army National Guard. But jumping in, you may be wondering, who is this lady on the webinar? I know you're used to seeing Bubba Gaddard, but unfortunately he was unable to make it today, and I know I have big shoes to fill. So if you are not familiar with what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be focusing on careers in esports. And we have special guests, starting with Michael Swan, COO, and General Manager at RBG Esports, as well as Ben Bruce, Project Manager, Tournament Organizer, organizer and coach. He does it all. But first, we want to talk to our very own Sergeant Flores. Sergeant Flores, whenever you're ready. Hello, how are you? I'm good, how are you? Sergeant Flores, how are you? We're having some technical
Turn on your mic,
issues.
All right. Yeah, can you hear me now, Mia?
Sergeant Flores, can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry, a little mix up there, but
cannot
looks
hear
like we're
you,
all
but
set.
I see you talking. We want to make sure our mic is on in Discord, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Perfect. Now we're on in both. Hi there, Mia.
Perfect. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just a little bit of mix up. You know, today, change of scene from another hotel. Last time I was in DC, now I'm in Philly. So it's a little bit of traveling.
I was about to bring that up. The background looks nice. Is it sunny there right now?
It's actually rainy and gloomy, but I actually like it. So it's nice. You know, it's better than sweating whenever you walk outside. So it's worth it.
That's true. Well, if it's gloomy there, then you must have some good lighting set up. So
Yes.
jumping right in, I just want to know about you, and, you know, I just want you to talk a little bit about how you guys build a team in the Army National Guard and how that can transfer outside of the service.
Absolutely. So one of the key things when you obviously are a part of the Army National Guard is you get a lot of training and how to handle a lot of different situations. Some of them can be stressful and some of them a little more complicated. So part of our training is you get trained on how to be a leader. So first you obviously have to be a team player, know how to be a part of a team before you're managing your own team essentially. Now this obviously branches out into every other career, like the video we just saw. You know, we have members in the Guard that are, teachers, physicians assistants, nurses, business owners, everything under the sun, right? So by being in the Army National Guard, it helps you be it gives you an additional skill set. In other words, kind of like Batman has his utility belt. You can pull out different little tricks here and there. Now, how we're able to adjust that into esports, like some of our esteemed speakers are about to hear from, is seldomly you're doing one job. So, for example, with the Army National Guard, obviously we have a partnership with NJCAA, as well as NRG, which I'm wearing, and a couple of different other organizations, and making sure we do the marketing on that side of the house. We run tournaments, events, even on the production side. So we do a little bit of everything. And that's something that you have to be open to, especially as, going into a career in esports. You have to be flexible. And the neat thing about that is if you learn a little bit about every single little task, you feel a little bit better kind of dictating to others, hey, I need you to do this, but what can be accomplished and what can't. So it does give you, that view from that lens in a way.
Definitely, that makes sense. And what skills do you guys look for when you're recruiting?
Yeah, so one of the things we look for is, people that are flexible, right? A lot of times you don't want a person that's just, really good at one skill. I'd rather have a person that is, maybe not as good as the one person in that one skill, but they can also do another three or four. So if you look at on the esports side, like maybe production, right? Yeah, OBS, like you're a god at OBS, but do you know vMix? Do you know how to mess around in Unreal Engine? Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere Pro, all those little things kind of come into play. I'd rather have an all around person than just a master of one.
Definitely, that makes sense. Um, how does esports under the Army National Guard work? I know you touched on that a little bit, but how did that even get started and how do you get involved in that?
Yes. So one of the key things of how it started was, and I'll quote one of my mentors. He said that we were gamers long before we joined the Army National Guard, and we'll be gamers long after. So in the service, whenever we go different places, meet and train with different people, we find out, hey, you're into World of Warcraft, you're into Rocket League, you play Call of Duty, and then we start hanging out together online, and you start the friendships and the camaraderie carries on over into the digital space essentially. And from that we started seeing, hey, maybe there's more people like us out there. So that's how the esports side of the house started growing in the Army National Guard. Since then, we've made some amazing partners like NJCAA, NRG. We work with TP, a couple of other influencers and things like that. I have done some stuff in the mobile space as well, and it's been great. Our biggest thing is being able to share our story and you know allowing people to know that there's more behind the uniform than just what you think on the surface. So making sure people see their opportunities in the Army National Guard, and if it works for them, great. If it doesn't, hey, at least right? So it's been a ride for sure.
Awesome. With training and everything that you have going on, how do you balance all of the Army National Guard stuff as well as esports? How do you even find time to game?
So the cool thing about being in the Army National Guard is that you're a part-time soldier, right? 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year, and being in the service in the Army National Guard, you get to learn how to multitask and handle things correctly, right? You don't get bogged down. You're like, hey, one task at a time. You make it in bite-sized pieces, and it works out. There's a lot of skills that you learn throughout your career in the Army National Guard that just help in the private sector or the civilian sector, and especially in esports. It just kind of blends in. It's like, oh, I have to know a little bit about this and a little bit about this and a little bit about that, and it just becomes second nature to us. So it makes it a lot easier for us because it can definitely be tough.
Part-time soldier and full-time gamer, would you say? So we were wondering, what is your main game? What game do you like to play?
So I primarily like to play Rocket League. I play Rocket League and Warzone with my friends and family from back home. But Rocket League is the main one for me. I just came from winter majors in LA last weekend or the weekend before. That was a lot of fun. We have already, my buddies and I, that we met online in Rocket League. Our wives have met and everything, and we're actually going in August to World in Dallas. So we'll be there. We're going to book some hotels and Airbnb so we can all hang out together. And it's a weird little online family. And Same thing happens with a lot of our, guardsmen, right? We link up together and we meet up, and it's like the coolest thing ever. If for everyone out there, if you get a chance to go to a LAN, go. It is an absolute blast.
Definitely. That's awesome. What do you do to improve yourself in your game? And do you carry that strategy into your everyday life as well?
Absolutely. So one of the things is esports. You have to treat it as a sport, right? There is such a thing as over practicing or overburdening yourself. You have to be able to take some time, and maybe part of your practice time is actually looking at VOD reviews, looking up new skills, practicing certain mechanics. There's so many things that go into becoming a better player, and especially when you work with a team, you have to make sure, hey, we're only as strong as our weakest link, is something we preach. So we make sure that everyone in our team is the best version of themselves that they can be. So maybe some of that time is actually maybe not practicing on my individual abilities. It's helping my teammate become better. So as a unit or as a team, we can win more tournaments or whatever the case is.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sergeant Flores, and we're super happy you're here. You bring a whole new insight to the esports industry, and that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Let's bring in our other special guests, Michael Swan and Ben Bruce. And we, like I said, are going to be talking about careers in esports. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Good. We're so happy that you guys are here. We're just going to start with Ben for the questions first, and then we'll move to Michael, if that's all right. Ben, how did you get involved in esports?
It's been a long journey, but I started in college. Before that, in high school, I would consider myself pretty casual. I would just play maybe Battlefield with my friends on PlayStation, or play Smash on the Wii, or whatever it was at that time. But my senior year of high school, I got into League of Legends. Went to college, and really got involved in the LCS was getting big at that time and everything growing, and I kind of found myself not good enough to be a player, but studying the game enough. I ended up putting the Mizzou League of Legends team together, and I ran that at my college there for 3 years. So that's kind of how I got started in esports, and then ever since then, it's just been either volunteering opportunities turning into paid ones, or vice versa. So, yeah.
Wow. And Michael, how about you? How did you get into esports?
I mean, I grew up a gamer. I played sports sims in high school. I played strategy games in my free time. Played tons of first-person shooters with friends, whether it was Halo or Call of Duty. And then I had a bizarre opportunity during my undergrad in an English class to write we were given an assignment about writing a research paper on like a demographic. We were supposed to pick like a section of society and do like a full scale research paper on it. And it culminated into like this 30-page paper about competitive Halo and MLG. Like it was a really bizarre thing. It's basically I was an 18-year-old kid who conned his mom into buying him an Xbox so that I could play Halo and interview pro Halo players to then write this massive research paper. And I ended up getting an A on it. It was awesome. It was like the highlight of my freshman year of college. And then I stayed with competitive games. Didn't really pursue anything professionally, but just a very competitive person. And then actually 4 years ago this month, a fraternity brother of mine reached out because he and I were basically adminning this large, multiple thousand person Facebook group, basically like a networking thing for brothers to play video games. And he hit me with the idea of, why don't we start our own professional team? Like why can't we do that? And I said, you're right. There's no reason we can't do that. And so we founded RBG Esports in April of 2018. So since then, it's been over 120 top 8 finishes in a bunch of tournaments. It's been signing incredible players. It's been growing incredible content. and content creators and traveling and seeing the world. It's been a bizarre 5-year journey, really.
Wow. So you really are a gamer for life. What does RBG stand for?
So we get this question a lot. So RBG actually stands for the red, black, and gold, which are the colors associated with the fraternity that my co-owner and I are from. We're both brothers of Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia, which is a national music fraternity. My undergraduate degree is actually music education. I went to college to be a band director.
Wow.
And my co-owner did some music ed classes and actually is like his final degree was opera performance. We have quite a few brothers. Like that's because I mean, we'll talk about this as we get into like careers in esports. But when we first started, we were like, we need to leverage brothers, the guys that we know, the guys that we trust, and we kind of just built the identity of the team around that.
That's awesome. Wow. What instrument do you play?
I actually play trombone, trumpet, and piano.
Okay, so you don't do any of the opera singing?
No, I don't.
That's awesome. Ben, I just saw your dog back there. Is he a gamer too?
He's come on when I do stream. He's come on stream a couple times. But yeah, he's a little dachshund, so he's got some separation anxiety stuff. Because like my office is basically it's a loft in our condo, and so if he can't see someone, he gets kind of jittery. But he's with his mom now, so he'll be good.
Well, he can be a special guest anytime. Moving back to you, Ben, just switching gears a little bit. The question is, what can prepare someone to start a career in the educational esports scene? How do you even get started with that?
Yeah, that's tough. If you're talking educational, are you meaning like scholastic and collegiate kind of fields, or like as a career?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That kind of the idea. Yeah, I think right now, if you're looking to get involved with either a high school or a collegiate program, as far as careers go, there's not I'll be honest, a whole lot available. But if you are looking to get involved, I think the best thing that you can do is kind of piggybacking off of what Michael said, or what both of Michael and I, it sounds like we've done, is when you're in college and you have maybe more free time than you would after college, or even in high school, get involved with something. Start something of your own, or start something with someone else, with some of your friends, and create something of value that you can show people after college, that that you've done and you've started, and that you have the drive behind it, right? At least something other than that. I think my biggest advice for someone in college or even high school is, if you're trying to get into esports, the best thing you could do is find a career path that's maybe adjacent to what you want to do, and don't go straight to esports. I think there's a lot of value, in maybe something like what like Michael said. He was a music ed teacher, right? And now he's running his own org. What I did is I studied industrial engineering, which doesn't sound like it would have anything to do with esports, but it led me into project management, which is, if you're looking to run events, if you're looking to manage projects, I mean, that's a kind of a universal skill that you can do professionally and then eventually pivot into esports.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. I definitely can see that. Michael, would you agree? Do you think there are many opportunities in getting a career in esports?
There are a multitude of opportunities for careers in general in esports. The scholastic route is quickly becoming very tough. I would say, like 3-4 years ago, colleges that were looking to hire head coaches, or even high schools that were willing to dabble, they were 3-4 years ago, they were taking anyone and everyone. And like if you basically told them that you were a gamer, so a college administrator would basically go, okay, cool, you know what you're doing, go run the team. And now it's morphed into like the classic millennial job search fiasco where it's a job that's underpaid, like way more responsibilities that it should have, combined with the fact that they want someone with 10 years experience, they want a master's degree, like they want all these extra things that not a lot of people who probably have a lot of knowledge in the space have. I know a lot of my colleagues, and like myself included, like I don't currently have a master's degree. I don't have an MBA. I don't have these achievable things that some colleges may want to require, and so it's making we're seeing jobs getting taken based on some things that may be out of our control. But if you want a job in esports, I have to echo what Ben says. It's find something you like to do that's adjacent, that has a need in the industry, and chase that down. Like if you're passionate about social media, go get a traditional communications degree. If you are passionate about design and want to design things that go on websites or things that go on team social media, or if you want to design jerseys, like an art degree is fine. Go build that portfolio and then email people and show what you can do and provide value for. There's a lot of opportunity out there. You just gotta don't get duped into going, oh, I need an esports degree to go get a job in esports, because right now that's there more often than not, in my experience, it's been like kind of like snake oil salesman-y, kind of scammy, people getting taken advantage of, and that's been problematic of the industry for probably 20 years.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned overworked and underpaid. Almost everyone I've ever spoken to in the esports industry has said the exact same thing. Do you think that will ever change over time?
I want to say it will, and that's more me hoping. Yeah, it's more me hoping than it being a reality, because right now a lot of teams aren't focused on building a lasting team culture. There's a lot of, I have XYZ tasks that need to be accomplished, and I don't care if the person I hire to do it only lasts 6 months in the industry. Whereas for me, I would much rather find someone who I can help build a year, 2 years, 5 years with, and help build them into this unstoppable force of the industry. I don't want to hire one person to do graphic art for 6 months and then have them dip. Now, I mean, if they find a new opportunity, great. But there's a huge amount of burnout, and it's because the corporate culture in the industry is surprisingly very toxic.
Right. Ben, moving to you for a second, going off of what Michael said, do you think we see a lot of people in the esports industry not lasting very long, or quickly moving from job to job? And if so, why do you think that is?
I think, from what I'm seeing, and again, I speak from more of a like thinking about collegiate or tournament ops. If you have already been doing it for a few years, you're already a director or in a tournament ops position. You're a great candidate to move up to those new positions that are starting to pay better, that are offering a little bit more benefits. But then the issue then is, your job becomes available that you just left, and it might still be, like that underpaid, overworked. But I think, in general, as more positions become available, more and more institutions are doing their research. They're understanding the space a little bit better. It is at least what I'm seeing. I think over time it's definitely going to get better, as the people who are creating these hires take the time to understand the space, understand what the actual requirements are, what you're asking these potential employees to do. Right? If you're talking about running a collegiate program, that's a big undertaking. You have so many little details, so many students that you could potentially be managing. You want those people to be treated right. Um, another thing that we haven't really brought up yet, but is, if you want to get involved in esports or if you want to get involved in gaming, right? Because there are a lot of just gaming companies that are hiring, if you're looking to do things like graphic design or game design, software development, you can also do a career like that. And those positions are way more readily available than something in esports itself, right? So that's always something to consider.
Definitely, there is a difference between gaming and esports. But going back to what you said really quick about collegiate esports programs, how do you think those programs can prepare students for a career in the esports industry, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you pick a college that you're going to, one of the things you have to consider is, maybe an alumni network, maybe the connections that program has. Do they have a good journalism school? Do they have a good business school? Anything like that. And eventually, as programs become more long-standing, and you have people graduating and coming and going, those schools are going to develop those connections to larger programs, right? So maybe down the line, Maryville University, for example, just pulling one out of the hat, has a few graduates that work at a company that you want to work at. Maybe that's something you want to look to. I think there is a big part, right now at least, is just making sure you're connected to the people in the space. Definitely volunteer at events, network, make sure that you keep up with people that you meet, because you never know what opportunities might arise and where they'll come from.
Definitely. My dad always says if you can't network, you can't get a job. So networking is huge. And as esports is growing, we're not that huge yet. So it's good to get to know as many people as you can. Michael, moving on to you, what do you think collegiate esports programs can do better to prepare their students for a job in esports?
Well, we're seeing a real transition at the collegiate level where instead of it being just like a functional pickup team playing in tournaments, we're seeing a lot of like the top tier schools really building out a lot of structure. So and then that's on top of players. We're seeing basically collegiate programs functioning like nonprofit orgs, really, where we're leveraging student talent and student ability to do our graphic design, do our analytics, do all these things that big teams like Evil Geniuses or Complexity would spend a lot of money on. So it's providing a lot of hands-on experience. I know when Greg Adler was at UT Dallas, there was a lot of that really going on. Like UTD had its own content team. They were supporting streamers that went to UT Dallas. Like there's a lot of like everything that goes into running a team. A lot of these top tier college programs are really biting into, and that's really the direction it needs to go. I know over the last like 2 years, I've interviewed for like head coach roles at some like brand new schools, like schools that are like, we want to enter the esports space, and uh, they're treating it more like traditional sports where it's not quite the same, because a 5-person League of Legends team or a 3-person Rocket League team doesn't have the same functionality as a 25 plus person baseball team or a 55 plus team football team. So schools like Maryville, schools like UT Dallas are really setting a really good standard on how teams function and what kind of experience these players and students are getting. Because 5 years ago, if you wanted a career in esports and you already had a degree, you basically had to like volunteer till it turned into a paid gig. Because you needed to build experience, you needed to build a portfolio, you needed to basically prove yourself that you were capable of working in the space. And now we have students who are building really impressive resumes in the collegiate space while they get their degree. And so I know Complexity's done that a couple times. Like there's been a couple like UTD students that have transitioned into really strong professional pro, like top tier pro careers, pro jobs, not necessarily as competitors, but like as a social media manager or as a video editor. Um, so yeah, colleges are doing the really good college programs, and the programs worth emulating are doing a really good job of providing tons of experience, tons of worthwhile experience.
Definitely. And it's funny you mentioned that. I interview players quite often, and some of them go back to college just to be a part of a collegiate esports team. So that's crazy to think about. What do you think about esports programs in the collegiate setting that are run by the students? Do you think that's a good idea or no?
I don't think it's necessarily. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's a good idea or a bad idea. I think it's that kind of program, and at that point, it's basically going to be like a non-varsity program. It's going to basically be like a student club,
Hmm.
and that's fine. It's going to accomplish the same types of goals, um, but there'll be things missing that like a full-fledged varsity program really provides. Because like the biggest boon to collegiate esports is being able to provide scholarship to students. Um, a couple of programs that I've talked to that are basically student ran student clubs. Um, they compete at a decent level. They produce good product as far as content and their image, but they could be better if they knew they could go out and recruit a player and give them a decent scholarship to come to their school. Especially if it's like a less not less desirable, but it may not be like a first choice destination. And I know when I interviewed like the one of the bigger jobs I interviewed for a year and a half ago. Um, I made it to the second round. They flew me out to campus, met with about 7 different individuals on campus, and was blown away by the fact that they were like this small D2 school was willing to shell out like $10,000 scholarships to esports competitors. And like that's the biggest difference between a varsity level program that's propped up and supported and pushed by the university and a student club. Like that's a huge difference. It makes a huge difference knowing that you have a budget, you can order material, you can basically create expenditures that the university is willing to pay for and grow your product. It creates a similar environment to what we do at the professional and semi-pro world, where we're creating P&L statements. We have to worry about our bottom line. We have to take care of our people. Like it creates a similar environment. And those are honestly going to produce, I think, a better product and provide more worthwhile experience for than people with degrees to go out and get jobs after.
Onto that though, I mean, if you're a student-run program, there's nothing stopping you from doing what you want to do, right? Go out, like if you want to create good content, you have all the resources you would need, online. You can figure out how to do it and go out and do it. University of Illinois isn't sponsored by their school. They don't have scholarships, or they're not an official varsity program. But if you look at some of the content that they make and how they manage their social media, I mean, it's some of the best that I've seen, and they're not even a sponsored program. So honestly, and again, that's kind of how I started too. It's if you want to do something, and there isn't anyone else to support it, you have to just find a way to do it yourself. And I think that also shows a lot, right? If you're not backed, if you're not on scholarship, but you're still putting in that work and you're making something that's getting noticed, I mean, that's just as important. Right?
Oh, yeah, no, it's true.
Definitely. I'm so glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next question. For the schools who their universities aren't as supportive, or maybe they just don't know or care to understand esports, what advice do either of you have for the students so that they could push for scholarships or push for recognition? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I know. That was something that we did at Mizzou for a long time, and of course, the year I leave, 2018, they start their varsity program. But there was always a pitch every year to try and get them to support it. I think something to realize is, especially with like a public university, there's a lot of red tape that you as a student might not know or even think about that needs to happen first, right? Um, I I don't doubt that, or yeah, I know that esports is going to continue growing, and I think that if it's not happening now, that it'll happen in the future, right? Um, Obviously, you should keep pushing for it, but the best thing you can do is just stay involved at your school, stay active, um, and if you feel like there aren't opportunities, something else that I think is incredibly valuable is the high school space is growing super fast too, right? If you're a college student and you want to get involved, see what local high schools need help, right? Um, we're talking about careers in, collegiate or after collegiate, but, there really isn't an esports career in the high school scene. It's based off of completely volunteers, teachers that have free time. But if you approach um, and offer to volunteer in your free time to run a club or to coach a team, that's you showing initiative. That's you helping your community. It's, um, something that gives you a lot of value too.
Definitely. Michael, do you
Yeah.
have any advice?
I would say if you are a student at like a student club on your campus and want to help make that push to get university backing, you need to take it upon yourself to start building a case study. Start showing that by you having this club, by the university having this club, and then we're getting X viewership in tournaments. We're getting we have X following on social media. Like we have these sponsors in the community. Like if you go out and get like a local chain restaurant or something like that to help provide jerseys or whatever. Like if not that it's a great analogy, but um, I would encourage student clubs on that level that want to push for varsity. Like treat it like the business side of Greek life, or like your traditional sports teams. Like go out, create structure, start building case studies, show that there's a reason you're there, and that having support from the university is going to help you grow. Um, and then find key people to talk to. Like esports teams, esports programs on campus kind of exist in a couple different areas. Like um, there's a growing fascination with housing esports within the athletic department, and I know like UT Dallas does that, for example. You can also build the program into the STEM department, and I know a couple of schools do that as well. Plenty of schools put it under campus recreation and life. So, like, go talk, see if you can schedule a meeting. If you're like the club president, go see if you can schedule a meeting with the athletic director or even the assistant athletic director. Schedule a meeting with one of the directors at Rec Life at the rec center. Like, go out and take some schedule some meetings, spend the time, build a case study, explain your situation, and just keep pushing. That's really the only things that you can do until the light bulb moment happens and the university goes, oh no, this is a really good idea, we can benefit from this.
Well, that is some great advice from you both. I'll make sure to take note on that. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move to an open discussion. So I'm just going to ask you all the questions that I had. First with you, and we're going to bring back Sergeant Flores as well. Sergeant Flores, if you don't mind joining us.
Absolutely.
Hello, welcome back. Hi. So happy to have you all here, all three of our special guests, and some dogs that we see in and out of the frame. Always good. Now, this is a question for all of you, so we can just start with Sergeant Flores. What skills do you think are important to have in the esports industry?
Biggest thing is being flexible and time management, like Ben was talking about, being able to handle large projects, whether it be an event coming up. That's pretty big. With Idaho Army National Guard, they work with Doc Haskell's team at Boise State quite a bit. I've been fortunate enough to fly out there and see how his team works. And, one of the biggest things is, they have people specializing on certain things, but they can flex to other positions. And being able to obviously manage events is huge. So time management and just being flexible. Like, again, Ben was harping on this. If you want to do something, do it. All the tools are out there. I mean, you have like OBS, Unreal Engine, different versions of like Photoshop, the similar ones. And obviously, if you're a student, you can get discounts on that as well. It really is worth it. Just, being doing things that you're passionate about will go a long way. And the one thing I will say to do is log everything. Every hour you spend in production, every hour you spend shoutcasting, grow that portfolio of, hey, I worked on X asset for this tournament, for this event, whatever the case is.
Definitely. Ben, what do you think? What skills are important to have?
Sorry, we missed that, Mia. I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ben, I was moving on to you. What skills do you think are important to have in the esports industry?
Gotcha. Well, after kind of being flexible, I think being a good communicator. You need to be able to, we kind of in esports we like live on Discord, and you need to be able to not only effectively communicate and keep track of everything that you're working on, but make sure that if you are trying to really move into a career that you're maintaining good relationships with people online, you're being respectful, because everything that you do, people are going to notice or people are going to talk about, and nothing on the internet gets deleted, so you need to make sure that you're putting your best self forward and you're staying on top of communicating with everyone. I think that goes a long way, especially for us gamers who aren't necessarily, like, maybe you're not a people person, but that's something you need to work on. Definitely work on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I always say if I wouldn't want my grandma to see it, I better not post.
There you go.
Good point. Michael, finally with you, what good qualities should we have?
Well, time management was taken, flexibility was taken, communication was taken. I guess, and to wrap it up, I would encourage you to endeavor to be fearless. Don't worry about being judged because you want to work in esports, you're doing XYZ to help further that career, whatever it is. A lot of people I've met through the last 4 or 5 plus years, and myself included to a certain extent, suffer from serious imposter syndrome, where like they worry about, oh, I'm going to be judged, or why do people care what I have to say, or what I do doesn't provide value or meaning. And if you are flexible, if you have time management and you can communicate ideas effectively and clearly, like there's no real reason that you can't work in esports. Go out, network, go out, get outside your comfort zone, meet people, talk to people, go to LANs, engage on social media with whether famous or semi-famous or just casual people within the community. Like go out and meet those people. Don't be afraid to go up and say hi and ask them questions. Yeah, I would say try to be fearless in your pursuit of what you want.
I like that you brought up the whole thing about community. That's very important. And maybe I'm biased, but I think everyone, at least that I've come across in the esports industry, is super friendly. So that's great advice. Just talk to people and they respond. And speaking of talking, I don't know if I mentioned this, but our chat is open. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we will definitely answer them for you. But until then, we'll move on because I just have so many questions. I'm learning so much from you all. What work experience can prepare someone to start a career in the semi-pro and pro esports scenes? Michael, we'll start with you so no one can take your answers.
No, that's fine. I mean, you need to find, if you want to work in esports, find something that you enjoy and something you want to spend time doing. So if that's, you want to work in production, there's a lot of adjacency there. I know, at least in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's a lot of churches that have been taking on like broadcasting church services and things like that. Like it's a very similar skill to putting it to like broadcasting for a tournament. Like you're going to be using some of the same software most likely and some of the same tools and skill sets. Go out and find adjacency, build skill, and usually that's like the pathway to success. It's find the adjacency to what you want to do, and then network enough where you can flip over and start pursuing that career you want.
That's great. Ben, I know we talked a little bit about graphic design and, Michael just mentioned production. What other work experience do you think can prepare someone to start a career in the esports industry?
I mean, it can really be. I mean, man, it can be anything. You can pursue any degree. You can find any job. Like we just posted a job actually for RBG for a sales position, because the gross majority of esports revenue comes from the sale of sponsorships. If you are good at selling an idea or good at having communicating and talking, like there's opportunity for you to join the sales team at any team, whether it's RBG, Team Envy, Liquid, like pick your favorite. It doesn't there's jobs and opportunities out there. Um, there is almost for any career path in esports, there is an analog for it in the general population, whether it's in PR or journalism, writing, graphic design, video editing, production, project management. Like there's an analog for it. Um, you got to chase it down, build your skill, and network.
Ben, I know you majored in industrial engineering, but outside of your major and your studies, how did your college experience in general help prepare you for working in the esports industry, if at all?
Um, Gosh, I think the thing that helped me the most, and the reason that I liked industrial engineering, and I guess a little background on what it is it's not like mechanical or civil where you're designing bridges or an engine or anything like that, but it's about creating systems and continuous improvement, right? And those are concepts that you can apply to any aspect of your life, and it really opens you up to any field, right? You can apply it to the coaching that I do for league, which is what I did in college and beyond. You can apply it to running a tournament. You can apply it to project management, things like that. Um, in terms of getting into like the professional space, something I kind of wanted to add on to what Michael was saying was, I think a really important thing to do is just to be patient. um, there are more and more opportunities as esports grows. It's not stopping, slowing down, but I think if you're just graduating college and you're looking to go pro, or not pro in like a gaming sense, but pro is just in like working for a professional organization, right? That's going to pay you a salary to do something in gaming or esports. If that's your goal, just be patient, right? Um, get a career doing whatever your major was in, that's outside of esports. Continue that work, and just wait for the right opportunity, right? Don't think that right out of college you're going to be able to go straight to pro. um, but I think the best thing you could do is stay focused on your work, improve yourself, stay active in your community, whether it's being involved with your high school or whatever is local to you, um, and wait for the right opportunity, right? Whether it be moving to a different location, a certain salary you're looking for. Everyone's situation is different. Um, and you definitely want to just wait for that right opportunity. So definitely being patient. It's a long road for any, job application, let alone an extremely small subset of jobs that you're trying to get into. So just keep that in mind as well. I think that's really important.
Definitely. Sergeant Flores, how has the Army National Guard prepared you for a future in esports, and do you have to work on patience as well? Sorry, folks are having some technical difficulties. We'll come back to Sergeant Flores. I have another question for you two in the hot seats, I guess. How would you say esports is viewed by your peers when you were in college. Do you think, I mean, obviously esports has grown, but when you were in college, did esports even cross your mind as a career? I mean, you both had different industrial engineering and music. It's completely different, but did it cross your mind?
No, it was to me it was a pipe dream. Like I knew like we had MLG and like I knew that was existing, but it never crossed my mind that it could become a really bizarre, crazy career. Like if me as a 20-year-old 10 years ago, if you told me that I could work in player management, work with incredible people, and travel the world, I would say you're crazy and full of it. And fast forward to where we are now, and like I've gone to Korea, I've gone to Romania, I've gone to Poland. I've ran social media for a bunch of tournaments. I've had fantastic teams go to ESL Pro League and play in Rocket League majors and things like that. Like it's been a really bizarre, crazy thing. But 10 years ago, in the middle of my undergraduate degree, it was a pipe dream. It was non-existent, really. Had I known it was real, I probably would have done things differently.
Right. Ben,
yeah,
what about
yeah.
you?
No, I never thought it was gonna. Oh, sorry. I didn't think it was ever gonna turn into a career. I mean, it. To be fair, it's still not a career for me. It's still something that I do that I'm passionate about in my free time, and it's part-time work. But um, I think part of it is just it's something that I've always loved doing, and my passion for that started in college, and it hasn't stopped. And it is creating opportunities for me, right? And that's really all you can ask, right? For me, it's always been about one opportunity ends, take a little break, reset, and then can you create another opportunity for yourself? Can you keep an upward trajectory, right? Um, every project that you get involved with, try and go one step further on the next one, make it a little bit bigger, get involved in the next big thing. And eventually the end path there would be like a full-time job, right? But you definitely can build your way up. You don't have to go 100 to 0 or 0 to 100, right? 0 to 60.
Definitely. Sergeant Flores, welcome back. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but I do want to hear from you with my previous question about how the Army National Guard has helped prepare you, and I wanted to hear you speak about patience as well.
Sure. So patience right now, right? Running into a couple little things here and there, but being able to work past them and not, freak out, if you will. So one of the things that I always like comparing the Army National Guard to is like getting this buff. I know Ben did say about improving yourself, and with the Army National Guard, there's so many skills that you learn.
Update yourself at Discord.
There's so many skills that you learn in the Army National Guard that help you, become a better leader, a better team player, how to handle, pressure, stress, being patient. I mean, even when we talk about project management, right? As you go throughout your career in the Army National Guard, you learn how to plan uh, logistical movements, right? So medical supplies, or especially like during hurricanes or fires, we have civilian people out there that have lost their homes. We need to, get them to a safe location, get them food, get them water, and then all these other little tiny things start adding up together. But being able to manage all of that and effectively as a team work together to get it done is like a passive buff that you get for life to keep it like in gaming terms, if you will. But it's really enjoyable, and especially with esports always changing, new things coming up, being able to software gets better, so equipment gets better, being able to adjust to all those changes, it's just second nature after a while in doing it. And it's great because in the National Guard we have people from all sorts of different sectors of the industry. We have people that work in esports, actually very successful, and then we have people that, hey, they run their own businesses, or teachers that are starting up their own esports programs that happen to be Guard members themselves. So we help each other out a lot. And a big thing is just over the course of our training, you learn so many things, and you just overall improve yourself in whatever sector you decide to go in professionally.
Yeah, I think that's my personal favorite thing about esports is that you don't have to be any type of way. You can be any age, from any background, looked any way, and we're all just one big community. That's awesome. I always like to end my interviews with this question, and I'm going to ask it to all of you. If you had to describe esports in one word only, what word would it be? Sergeant Flores, we'll start with you. Not to put you guys on the spot.
I instinctively want to.
Can you go into that a little bit? Why track and field? Well, I think we lost Sergeant Flores again. That's okay. Oh, you're back. Sorry. Go ahead. That's awesome. Thank you. Ben, what is your word? Ben, what word would you use to describe esports?
Oh boy. I should have spent that time thinking about it, huh?
I know, I didn't mean to put you guys on the spot.
I think the word I would describe is passionate. I think everyone that's getting involved or who you're going to meet right now that's really trying to get into the space, that's going to be their main motivator, right? This is something they've done their whole lives, and they just want their opportunity to share what they can do and make it a career, right? I think that's what all of us, at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a career in esports, that's the driving force.
I love it. Michael, what's your one word?
Exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you said one word, so
that's true. Thank you.
There's just so much. There's so much happening in the industry. Tons of really cool opportunities. I know that like RBG has a few like really exciting like things I'm super excited about that we're going to be able to do the rest of the year. Like unfortunately I can't give details right now, but like knowing that I have target dates for some really exciting projects that are going to really change what we do at RBG and help elevate us, and hopefully help elevate DFW esports as well. Like the local, I'm heavily involved in the local scene here in Dallas Fort Worth, and yeah, no, there's so much exciting stuff happening, and not just for me, but like I'm sure throughout the year Ben's going to have tons of exciting things to be working on. Hopefully NJCAA is going to have tons of exciting stuff happening. Like there's just the esports industry just breeds excitement because it's a very unique industry and with just filled with opportunity.
Yes, well, now you have us on the edge of our seats. We're going to stay tuned for your big, exciting, secretive news. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much, both of you, for being here, and Sergeant Flores, who we lost, unfortunately. But thank you all so much for your time and all of your insight. And for those of you watching at home, make sure to take out your phone and scan that QR code on the screen. There's a definitely interesting website from the Army National Guard on there. And in just 1 minute, we're going to be starting our Valorant match for the NJCAA with the Nova Nighthawks versus the Bergen Bulldogs. So stay tuned for that, and thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Mia. Thank you, Mia.